When I was a kid, digital art was a curiosity that evolved into outright passion. It began as an unsure medium as to whether it would be called quote-unquote real art, but after years of drawing and painting back and forth on both traditional and digital mediums, I came to realize that they're actually both one and the same, at least in my eyes. But back then, all was unsure. And there was no one to legitimize, at least to me as a kid, that digital art could be taken seriously. The greatest ones would be faceless artists illustrating awesome works such as those in Dota or Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne. I don't have much examples honestly, but those were significant nonetheless. Speaking of Dota, around that time, Dota 2 was up and about, and while watching Suns fans' hero spotlights, a speed painting video of like a baby thunder spirit fighting Pudge caught my attention. In that moment, I got sucked in. It was Draw with Jazza, artist extraordinaire, who revealed his painting process. I jumped from one speed paint to the next, like the Minecraft fan art, Tron fan art, and even that big guy versus small guy, where I particularly remember being enamored by how the muscles were painted. While today it's something I've seen and done many times, back then seeing a digital painting manifest from start to finish was something I was just captivated by. I was curious, dared to emulate, although ultimately failed for a long while, but was nonetheless inspired. I was hooked on the process. Seeing the finished product was nice and all, but to understand and facilitate the creation, the method and the skill of making something fulfilled me personally. Hence, the content Draw with Jazza and other artists did, which was speed painting, drew my attention. Now, little did I know at that time that this same artist was the same guy who made the other videos such as the Western versus Eastern style or the Hulk transformation process from a while ago. I thought to myself, wait a minute, I've seen his videos before, because the channel was kind of familiar, Jazza. And to that, I did. I went down this rabbit hole of discovering other things Jazza did. Most notably were his Flash games. Or at least the Flash games he was a part of. Two of which that came to mind were Meaty Boner and the Paladin game. And when I replayed them when I was older, I finally noticed Jazza's style in them. Meaty Boner was a really cool concept where you start off as a skeleton and have to eat the meat of werewolves, as I recall, to have muscles and gain power. It was also the first time I saw a penis in a Flash game. Hence, memories. On the other hand, the Paladin game was just one of those legendary Flash games that I would never forget. Up there with the likes of Last Stand 2 or Wink the Game. In Paladin, you play as a kid who is entombed with a priest during an undead invasion by some dark lord. And you, I assume, grow up underground training to fight the undead until one day the priest dies and you are forced to be ready. And from then on, I found out more about him. Little things here and there, and even as a surprise, I found out he was Shad's brother from Shadiversity, who I was also watching congruently around 2017. Today, Jazza has moved on to bigger and better things, especially his miniatures, world building, and his life in general. Right now, he has his huge compound where all the magic happens. But I was there. I was there when he was still doing YouTube in like a small little shed where he painted a mural on his wall, recorded the entire process, gigabytes worth of video into a time-lapse. I still remember that time, simpler times. There was even the time he sold his art to fund for something I don't recall exactly, but I think it was to fix the shed he was doing YouTube videos in. Plus, I remember him showing a baby, like an infant baby. Jazza's influence on many of the artists of today who found him around the time I found him may not be so evident, But ask any artist nowadays and Jazza will pop in there somewhere, consciously or unconsciously. Honestly, I don't know where my art journey would be at this point without the likes of him. Sure, I have many influences, but each one is a significant pillar to the artist I am today. And Jazza would represent the joy of painting for me, as I found him before Bob Ross. The childhood wonder I still get often from doing art in general, not just painting digitally, but watercolor, pencil, drawing, miniature painting, even scale modeling using cardboard. In a lot of ways, I got into so much more than just digital art because of him. And because I got into other stuff like traditional drawing and miniatures, even sculpting to a degree, with cardboard that is, I am able to appreciate digital art more. Experiencing art of so many different kinds, having the curiosity to inquire, and having the interest to make was just so fulfilling. Even if the process is fleeting, since eventually a project will get finished, there is always the next one. Another thing that I was inspired by Jazza was the idea of style. Now for a time, I've come to realize and accept my own processes and outputs. But back then, I was kind of lost. I didn't have a process. I just had expectations and went painting blindly with no practice or even reference. High on inspiration, but without the meat of the grind. But despite that, I still enjoyed the process, though often was disappointed with the results. Eventually, though, I learned to accept the problem and went on a long journey to find myself as an artist. And now I can see the way I see Jazz's style, my style, how it is interwoven into the things I make nowadays. Because even Jazz's art today, as much as it has improved, I still see the remnants of his Flash game era style in them. The way I see my own old art somewhere in my new art, as little or as much. Today, I look back on those memories of him, and even so, those memories are immortalized on YouTube, at least for now. And while I appreciate all that he's done, I can't really vouch for him as a person since at the end of the day, all I know of him is an idea of Jazza. The man himself will only ever truly be known by those around him. Nonetheless, the works he has left behind, the works he continues to make, will have given value to me, and in the end, idea or person, it is the good that comes out of it, and the benevolence his influence has fostered that makes the world a little bit better. This was a man I looked up to as a kid, and even back then, his art influenced mine, as the same with other digital artists at that time since I was painting on a computer. Painting on a computer with MS Paint and a mouse. I didn't own like a tablet back then. I was painting with a mouse, and I thought I could get the same quality as he did. But yeah, that was kind of like, childish things. Nonetheless though, he kept me going. That's the important thing I look back on today. Without him, I can't really imagine what my art journey would be now without him on the platform. Because eventually, even if I didn't find him way back then, since I was practicing art, and so long as I was practicing art, I would have eventually found him. He would have been eventually recommended on YouTube. He's sort of like the Art Attack guy and Bob Ross combined. And as much as I'd like to meet him, he has like millions of subscribers, and looking at that, to him, I'm just a number. And that should be how it is. The way I appreciate Jazza is the idea of Jazza, or the works he has left behind, not really the person, because I don't really know who Jazza is as a person. He's a YouTuber, yes, he shows his personality, but that's not 100% him. What's 100% him would be what his close friends, co-workers, or family know. But as a fan who just, consumes his media, his works, and is inspired by him, I don't know him as a person. And, at first it was kind of disheartening, but, that's the reality of things. And even in that reality, even in this reality, that I realize, oh, he's just an idea on the internet. He's not this real person talking to me. Even so, the message, the influence he has provided have been positive, and of course, were intended to be positive. And it's this benevolence and non maliciousness he gives off as an artist that I will forever appreciate. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for your time, and until then, I'll see you.